Hey everybody, welcome back. Thought I'd try something a little bit different today. Instead of the Meshman t-shirt and backdrop, just kind of going casual, doing some work. I figured I'd show you the shop and maybe talk a little bit about the beam combiner. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. I might switch back and forth between this style video and my standard format where I'm sitting behind the desk, but we'll see. But first of all, I'm standing outside the garage. You can see I have a makeshift little thing here, and we'll take you inside and kind of show you what's going on. Bungee strap to hold my piece in place. There's a little metal plate down there to lock it underneath the lip. That's pretty good for keeping the fumes and stuff out. Then thing of bungee cords over here. We just strap it up like that. That holds the door shut in case the wind comes through. This is, here's my machine. You can see I'm running a couple test samples for an order I've got. When it's done, I'll clean them up. I'll take pictures. I'll send them to the client, and we'll see which way he wants to go. I have a very small storage / work table over here. This is not my garage. This is my brother and sister-in-law's, because that is where I'm currently staying. I have a stacked toolbox set up, and my chiller sitting there. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of space, so it's cluttered. But there's my desk I built, so I can get my laptop up here where I can easily work on it. Find a trackball works better in the garage in a small space because I don't have to worry about moving a mouse around a whole lot. And beam combiner came in really handy for this, simply because I wanted to line this stuff up as close to the edge as possible, and I'll get into that in a minute. But please comment below, let me know, do you prefer this style format or the more formal format where I'm sitting at the desk and I've got my background behind me and, you know, that kind of thing. So, machine's done. Let's take a look. Now the first thing you might notice is the one on the bottom looks a lot cleaner, a lot more black, and I'll tell you why. Because this is another product that I use all the time, especially when dealing with Romark and this dual layer acrylic. And what I do is I'll do the engraving first, because if you're doing a sheet, picking each one of these things up one by one and cleaning them, not fun. So paper towel and spray some of the Goo Gone on it, and just wipe it while it's down there before you cut it, and then go back and cut it, and it's clean. I'll show you that in a second. A little bit of Goo Gone on the rag. Start at the top, we just wipe right on down, and look at how much nicer that looks. Right? Then we'll just dry it. I can explain also why these two look a little bit different, because these are the samples I want to take a picture of and see which way he likes it better. Because we're actually going to have holes here, 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 here for mounting screws. Because this is the thicker Romark with no adhesive on the back, and that's what he chose that he wanted. And by the way, go check him out on Instagram. Does great work down here in Utah. Those of you that might be wondering, so the way I do it is I've got the whole thing set up into all the artwork, and all you're doing in light burn is you're just turning off the stuff you don't want. So these are my two cuts, inner holes, outer cut. I turn those off. I run the engraving, and now I'm going to come back and I'm going to turn the engraving off. And because I haven't run this material since I calibrated my machine, we're going to do the holes first. So I'm just going to turn those on. I think we should be right at about 14 speed and 60% power, but we're going to find out. So we're just going to go ahead and play it, and we'll find out. If it cuts all the way through, we're in business. Hard to see here. I'll open the door. Looks like we went right on through. Nice clean hole. Let's run the other two holes just to make sure. thought I had all 4 holes selected, but I didn't. I only had the 2. So we'll just go ahead and run it again. Same speed, same power, because the material's a little bit thicker right there, so we just want to make sure it's cutting all the way through. And we're good. You notice I have my air assist on when I'm cutting, but really low when I'm engraving, because I don't want all that dust being burned back into the engraving. So we'll go ahead and, again, up here, we'll turn the holes off, because I already did those. Turn the outer layer on. Sorry, controlling the trackball with my left hand. There we go. And select both of them. And there's my compressor running. All right, got both of the outer ones selected. Go ahead and run this. And we got to pause the machine. This is why you always watch the machine. Because you see, I like cutting on the blades as opposed to cutting on the can't think what it's called now, the grate. Just because it gets less, you get much less backflash on the backside there, or flashback. But that's what I like to love about Lightburn. I'm going to come over to just hit the pause button, pause it, open the door, pull that piece out. And then I click pause again, goes right back on through, cuts it right on out. Let's take a look at these. So this one you can see, I let the silver run around where the screw's going to be at, so that's full thickness of the plastic. And obviously we've engraved the silver off of this one, and I just left it like that. So I'm going to send these 2 pictures to him, or I'll take a picture, send it to him, and see which one he likes better, and explain the reasonings. This one being thicker, the screw head should cover right around the silver, but it should give it a little bit more stability. Granted, there's not much material missing, because this 2-ply acrylic is super thin. But I also did this test to make sure that my QR codes are still going to scan, and they look like they should. I'll test that as well. Also, there's my California Air Tools air compressor. Fairly quiet. You heard it running for a minute out there. I do have an AC Infinity inline fan. You notice it is sitting on the floor. I don't use it all the time just because I'm in a very temporary setup. But when I do, what I do is I come over here and I'll pull the bungee back off. Usually when I'm cutting wood, because the smoke is crazy. And I sit it right there on that ledge, and it just pops right in that hole, and it helps to blow the smoke farther out. I'm sure the neighbors really appreciate it, but it kind of smells like a campfire. And of course, the chiller, CW5000, actually made by S&A, so it's the bad boy. Definitely one I recommend. Another thing I recommend too is your milliamp meter. Need to have that so that when you are running the machine with Lightburn, you can put in, 50% power, and it doesn't really know your machine to know is 50% how your power supply is calibrated. So it doesn't know, or you don't know how many milliamps you're pushing through your tube. So I have a 60 watt, so that every tube has a rating on it. You want to make sure you don't exceed that rating, and then you also don't typically want to run it, more than 80% of that rating, just to extend the tube life. So having this right here, I can watch it all the time while the machine's running. I can even see it through my nice clear acrylic desk to make sure that I'm sitting where I want to be at. And I had done this a long time ago. This is just a glued up or bonded up piece of acrylic that I made to tilt the controller a little bit and give me a spot to mount the ammeter. That just allows it to, while I'm standing in front of the machine, have a better view of everything that I need to see and easier access to the controls. Because when these machines come in, the control panel is actually mounted flat, and I didn't have to modify the machine at all. I'm just using the hole where this was mounted to bring all my wires back up. So it works out really well. Like I said, I am crammed on space, so yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get comments about, God, you're so filthy, you're so messy. Well, I only have so much space. You know, I keep a lot of my offcuts over here when I know that there's something I might be able to use again. And then I have back there on that shelf back there, I've got some more solid pieces and some other offcut stuff, just depending on what it is. And this is material that I'm actually gonna play with maybe later today, I'm not sure. But this is a white core material. It's got the 3M VHB on the back already, but it actually has two layers on the front. It has a green layer on top and then a black underneath. And I've got to play around and get settings just right, because you're supposed to be able to reveal the black, keep it green, or burn all the way through and then reveal the black, or the white, excuse me. And yeah, speaking of offcuts, all kinds of circles and squares and discs and odd shapes, and depending on what I'm doing. So, yep, that's it. Okay, now let's talk about the beam combiner. So, I got a decision back on which pattern or which design he liked. So now I need to cut 24 of them. And I've already got those two other pieces cut out of the sheet. So I'm going to lay out where the other 24 go, and I want to make sure I'm not wasting a ton of material. So this is where the beam combiner comes in really, really handy. Let me show you. So in Lightburn, you can see I've got the first two down here. Those are already cut. Boom, gone. So let's say I had moved the material or rearranged something and I needed to come back in and check. So you can see all the highlighted ones, all the ones with all the squirrely around it. And you can see I've got it set to fill up there, right? So that's technically how I want to cut it. But I'm going to show you why the beam combiner is nice, because if I come down here, I'm trying to hold my thumb steady enough to do this. Actually, first, I'm going to unselect these. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to turn my outside line on, which is the orange one. I'm going to select just that one, which is the first one. That should be right on top of the hole. When I come down and I go to click the frame button, and see if we can get this down so we can actually see it. And I did the same thing to come along this side here to make sure that everything's situated there. Like I said, in this particular instance, I didn't really have to do it because I have not moved that sheet of material. But sometimes you pull the material out, you put new material in, and you want to get it as close as possible. So that's where the beam combiner is really handy. So now we're going to select all the stuff we want to do. We're going to turn off this. We're just going to draw a box around this section. unfortunately I have to hold shift down. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this holding the phone. So we will just give you this little view while I'm holding the shift down with my phone. Select all the other ones. And so that's what we got. And just word of advice, I always zoom in just to make sure that I get little spots, like, you know, what if I didn't accidentally get that circle or something like that, just to make sure I'm complete. But so all we're gonna do now is we're just gonna do the engrave. And then we'll come back, we'll clean it, and we will do the cuts. But first we're gonna frame the whole thing just to make sure we're gonna fit on the material. This is just standard practice. Don't really need a red dot for this. Oh, you can kind of see it from this angle. You notice the frame's all the way around that because I just did a square frame. But yeah, we got plenty of room. All right, we'll get it started. And I've got it set to do a 180-degree scan, which means it's starting at the top and coming down. I find that helps a little bit with getting the dust, or keeping some of the dust and debris out of the engrave, just because of the way the air flows in the machine. That's it. We'll come back and check on it later. Here is our progress. It has been, let's see, 15 minutes. And we're still working on the first row of 6. It's not the fastest process in the world. Yes, my machine can run faster than this, but to get that tiny detail that's in the QR codes, you want to make sure you're going slow enough to do that. And you can see the red dot coming from the beam combiner is always on, moving along there. So if you've ever seen another video of mine or any other laser engraver, and they've got, whether they have a beam combiner or just the LED hanging off the side, a lot of times, you know, we speed up the videos because nobody wants to watch the full length, you know, 1 hour, 2 hour burn, whatever. And you see this little red thing going across the material really fast. A lot of people think that that's the actual laser beam. No, you can't see the laser beam. Nope, that's just a red dot. And here's the beam combiner right here. It's just got that extra two-way type mirror right there. So the laser fires through that, but the actual red LED bounces off of it. So it's hitting the same mirror that the laser is hitting, and then it fires forward to mirror 2. One thing you'll notice is down here, that hole over there is where the original mirror mount was for the stand, and I had to relocate it to make enough room for everything to fit. So I used the same base, and I actually used the same stock that the beam combiner came with, that the machine came with for the mirror mount 1, and I was able to take the beam combiner parts just 100% off of their stand, and it dropped right onto the old stand. So if you order the one that I've got down there in their link, you'll notice it has a really tall stand. You just unthread it, pull it off. You can adjust height with that little set screw down there. You will have to drill some new holes probably in a 60 watt machine. If it's a different machine, maybe not. I am very tight in here, but I was able to get it done. And yeah, that's it. Great thing to have. My suggestion would be, if you're going to get a new machine and you're going to get a beam combiner, install the beam combiner before you align the mirrors. Otherwise, you will be aligning your mirrors again. Yeah, that was fun. Well worth it though. So I think I'm going to end this video here because nobody wants to spend the amount of time it takes to finish watching that process before I get this edited and uploaded, which I'm going to try to do this evening. We will see. But while we are here, I thought maybe I'd take you outside again and show you the mountains right behind the house. Pretty cool. It's beautiful out here. It's a beautiful day. It's about 55 degrees. But yeah, we're going to end it here, and the links for all the different stuff that I covered in this, the Goo Gone, the beam combiner, anything else that I happen to think of that I mentioned when I go back and edit, all those links will be down in the bottom. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.